Welcome to this classroom. What you see here is a very typical situation in a ballet dancer's everyday life. Warming up and trying to keep the muscles warm, stretching the body and changing shoes. This was also what Bournonvilles saw his dancers do more than 100 years ago every morning when he entered the dance studio. The dance studio was a place where Bournonvilles spent most of his life, choreographing, teaching and directing his dancers. And here in the classroom, he created his life's work, what is the work that's now known as a very special Danish ballet tradition, the Bournonville tradition and the Bournonville style. What is this Bournonville style? What is it that makes it so special and makes it different from other classical ballet styles? This we will try to show you by looking into the classroom and showing you examples from the Bournonville school. The Bournonville school is a set of 6 classes, one for each day in the week, and the steps in these classes are collected by his pupils after his death. That were the steps they remembered, and they tried to preserve his style by doing these classes every day. And therefore we now have a very good material to study the speciality of the Bournonville style in these classes. So we will show you some of the most characteristic steps from the Bournonville school. The first step will be a port de bras from the Monday's class. Karina will show the step, and in this step you will notice it is an exercise for what Bournonville called the aplomb, by which he meant the constant maintaining of a center feeling in all movements, so that arms and legs moved out from the center and help you get a good feeling of the balance. So you notice that Karina is moving her body all the way around her own center to all sides, and the arms stay in a nice rounded position all the time. And now reaching forward and backwards, still around her center. And now she's prepared to go on one leg and move arms and legs around her center, and also the head, sur le coup de pied, and finish. This sur le coup de pied position is a special Bournonville position in that way you do it with the heel in front and the toes behind the leg and a pointed foot. You see that very often in his choreography, and it's also a very good exercise because it forces you to turn out the leg from the thigh. I mentioned the coordination of the movement in this step you just saw, and this was also very important for Bournonville, that dance was not only a leg movement, but with all leg movements there were connected arm movements, body movement and head movement. Everything should work together like one harmonious chord in the music with no dissonances. The aplomb, as we mentioned before, the maintaining of the center feeling. Bournonville said about the aplomb that the triumph of the aplomb is the pirouettes, because they are depending only on this center feeling. You are turning around your own center. So the next exercise we will show is a pirouette exercise. Bjørn will show it. It's pirouette from the Saturday's class. And in this exercise you will notice that the pirouette goes very exactly with the music. There is time in the music for 2 turns and then to finish together with the music with the arms down. And this was very important for Bournonville, that the pirouettes were done in a musical way. Yes, and if you stay in this position, you will notice the rounded arms in a nice, held but still relaxed position, which is a very special Bournonvilles position, and all vertebrae comes out from this position. The next exercise Bjørn will also show is pirouette exercise with more different kinds of pirouettes. There are pirouettes from second position that's going en dehors, and also from second position they go the other way, called en dedans, and every time finish with the arms down. But also there are pirouettes in this exercise that finishes in different poses. There is an attitude Fsa, and an à la seconde with the arms over the head. And then there is a very special one that ends with the back to the audience in a long arabesque. This combination is pirouette exercise from Wednesday class. And you will notice when Bjørn now shows it that it has not only pirouettes but also small jumps in it, also exercising the feeling of a center when you land on one leg. Arms and leg go together in the preparation. Attitude Fsa. And en-dehors pirouette finish down. Now comes the en-dedans pirouette. Finish arabesque. Little jump. Now poses with arm and leg, upper body and head together. Jump on one leg. À la seconde. Thank you, Bjørn. When you talk about Bournonville style, one of the most obvious characteristics is the Epulmung. That is the movement of the upper body, the arms and the head in connection with the legs movements and in relation to the space around you. Karina, if you will come and show a position where you are standing en face. I think we should go like this, straight. Then you turn to the corner. But now you don't stand straight anymore. You make an opposition in the upper body, so it leans towards that leg, the arm goes over the head, and the head moves, and the eyes look over this arm, and now you have a croisé position. You can do that with the leg back also, still with the same lean in the body. When you now put this leg forward, the whole movement changes, the position changes to Fsa, and the upper body goes the opposite way, and the head looks under the arm, and you go with the leg to the back, and you have the same line. This is the Fsa position. And now, thank you, Karina. In the next exercise, you will see these two different positions, the Fsas and the croisés, used in two combinations. The first one is the coupé Fsa from Thursday's class, and then sommertrinnet from Saturday's class. And the first one uses the Fsa and croisé positions in a more slow combination with pirouettes, and in the second one it is in an allegro combination with jumps. Fsa, grand plié, croisé, and Fsa again, now to the back, and croisé back, and now comes the the allegro, Fsa and croise, and small jumps and the head goes with the leg, Fsa and croise. And now it moves into the room with bigger jumps. And the head moves with the leg. Now comes a grand plie on one leg, still Fsa and croise. Fsa and croise. Thank you, Karina. These were the epaulements in Fsa and croise, but in the Bournonville style you also have another kind of epaulement where you have the arms down in this typical rounded position, and then the epaulement is only in the shoulders and in the head, and also in the direction of the eyes where you look. You look to the foot you are moving, the foot you lift from the floor, the foot you want to point out to the audience. And this gives a whole movement of the upper body and of the head. But the direction of the eyes is very important in this epaulement. And we will show that both Karina and Bjørn in the next exercise, which is Sisson and pas de bourrée from the Wednesday's class. And Bjørn will start with doing the Sissons, showing this epaulement towards the leg that's lifted in jumps. And then Karina will continue showing the same epaulement with the arms down, but in a quick leg movement that's also a preparation for point work and for the pointed foot, and with this epaulement looking to the moving foot. So, to the back leg first and to the front leg. Just to show you that this is a special epaulement, that you look to the foot in a pas de bourrée like this, I'll show another kind of epaulement you could do in a pas de bourrée exercise like this, that is with the body moving away from the leg, which gives a much larger movement, whereas the Bournonville style is a little more delicate, and you want to point out that this foot is the important thing of this step, and then you force the eyes of the audience to look at what you are looking at. That's why the direction of the eyes is so important. Now let's move into space with Bournonville, which means that another characteristic of the Bournonville style is the way he uses the space. In the next exercise, Karina will show how she, in an allegro movement, moves first in a V shape on the floor, all the way to the center and to the other corner, and back again. And then in the other half of the exercise, she uses a whole diagonal and then a flat line to the back, and a whole diagonal and flat line. This is a little atypical of Bournonville, to do exactly the same right and left, but of course you have to do that in a classroom so that you do exercises with both legs. When he does choreography, he very often breaks that pattern, which is also a characteristical thing about his use of the space. This step is called Rosamunde from the Tuesday's class, and in this combination you will again see this sur le coup de pied position of the foot that you also saw in the port de bras exercise. Sur le coup de pied. See, every time she ends in sur le coup de pied. there again, and here. And now comes the diagonal, and the flat line, and the other diagonal. Karina, in this exercise, you used your arms in a special way that I would like you to repeat. In the first half, you held the arm down all the time in all these sur le coup de pied positions. But then when you start the second part, something happens with your arms. And you go on. Yes. This is the port-de-bras. And Bournonvilles uses that in a special way very often in this combination, that he does a lot of small steps with the legs while the arms are still held down, and then suddenly he points out one special step out of a whole sequence and makes this step the important step by adding a port-de-bras to this step. You will see that very clearly in the next combination we will do, where you are doing a contretemps, and show the first one where you do it with the arms down. It starts with a rond de champ, and when you go on, now comes the contretemps with the arms down. Yes. And now, when you do it the second time, this exactly same step, there is a little change. Because now there is an arm movement that suddenly makes this jump grow out of the step sequence. And this is something that Bournonvilles uses to make a jump look even higher than it is. This step is called La Rose from the Mondays class, and it has two parts. Karina will show the first part, and Bjørn will show the second part of this step, where the rhythm is changed, giving the step another dynamic quality, which is also a trick Bournonvilles often uses in his classes, so that you also should change the dynamics of a movement within a step. So before you do the step, just show once more this double rond de champ en l'air sauté that starts the step. Because this is also a very typical Bournonvilles movement that you see in all his variations. So now let's do La Rose from Monday's class. Double rond de champ en l'air, and the contretemps with the arms down and epaulement in the shoulders only. Here again. And now with the arm. Thank you, Bjørn. This exercise could also have been done the other way around, so that Bjørn did the first part and Karina the second, because most of the exercises in the Bournonvilles school are done by both boys and girls, and there are only a very few special boys and girls steps. And this makes the Bournonvilles style a special challenge for girls, because they are allowed to do all the big jumps instead of just doing point work and pirouettes and the slow movements. And then they can also do the beats, which we will see now in a combination that Karina will show. By beats, I mean jumping up in the air and then changing the feet quickly while you are in the air, for instance, like this. And this you can do in all directions, and Karina will show this step called spøgetrinnet from the Wednesday's class. And this has all kinds of beats in it, and you will also notice the quick change of directions, which makes this step special. And here the arm again, down all the time, and now up. And one way and it goes the other way and then again changes. And you recognize Fsa position. Yes, thank you. The next exercise that Bjørn will show is also beats, and it has three parts where you can see Bournonvilles builds up. First, the beats are in place. In the second half, it starts using the space, and the third half, he again uses the change of rhythm to make the jumps look larger and smoother and have longer lines. And Bjørn will show that in Bemærk from Wednesday's class. Place and different kind of beats. Now it starts moving out a little bit. And the arms have been down all the time. And now it changes the rhythm and longer line and arms. The beat exercises that you just saw two examples of leads us towards the end of the class. At the end of the class there are the big jump combinations, and here you see the way Bournonvilles put steps together that is quite special. In the big jump combinations you have the bravura steps, like a double tour anglaire where you jump up and turn twice in the air. And the way Bournonvilles connects these bravura steps with the other steps is special. I think if Bjørn will show what I mean by showing what we would call a normal preparation for a double tour anglaire. You stand in fifth and you do releve, and this is the step. And it's like this preparation, you can already, before you do the step, see this is going to be very difficult. So in that way you present the step in an effectful way that the audience are supposed to hold their breath and know that something difficult is going to happen. And Bournonvilles didn't like that. He wanted the bravura steps to be part of the whole dance. And that's why in his big jump combination you dance into these difficult steps and they lead into the next step. Bjørn, you can show from this variation that you're going to do now, in the middle part you have a double tour anglaire, and show how the step leads into this and goes on from there. You jump into it and it goes on, and you go on to a pose. Yes, it's all connected, so it's not stopping up and cutting the phrase into pieces. It's like one whole breath of movement. And Bjørn will now show the male variation from Wednesday's class, like one big breath of movement. This was a special boys' variation because of the double tour anglaire. And when you talk about special girls' variations, you of course think first of all of point steps. And there are also a few point steps in the Bournonvilles school. But the ballet shoe at Bournonville's time, more than 100 years ago, it looked very different from what it looks now. Now it's a very hard instrument, and you can hear, you can almost kill people with it, and you can do much more on point than you could 100 years ago. So I'll now show you an example of how little you actually did on point in the Bournonville style. It's just a little releve up on point and down again, and Karina will show that in the point step from the Wednesday's class. And there you will also see the change of epaulements, and in the third part of this step, Karina starts moving a little out of place. Thank you. So you see, it's very little you do on point in this exercise. But now, when you are a dancer of 1981, what do you do when you dance Bournonville and want to do it in the right style? And you have these other kind of ballet shoes, and you're also used to do more steps on point. I think it's not a matter of not doing the things on point because they were not done on point at Bournonville's time, but you have to think of what Bournonville wanted his dance and choreography to express. He wanted it to express joy and freedom and effortlessness. He wanted you as a dancer to feel free in the movement and to follow the urge to dance to the music and not to feel restricted. So I think if it's natural now for a dancer to do more things on point, it's not out of the style, as long as you still do these epaulements and you still do it in the music and you still do it with a feeling of the steps as one big breath. So I shall now finish this attempt to give you an idea of the speciality of the Bournonville style by dancing a solo variation from the end of Monday's class, and in that way try to resume all the details we have talked about in this lecture demonstration in the classroom. The coordination of the movements, the aplomb, the maintaining of the center feeling, the epaulements, the directions of the head and where you look, and the use of the space, and combine this with the musical phrasing and, first of all, with the joy of dancing.